And from one of the world's leading mindfulness teachers who recently departed this plane, Thich Nhat Hanh, to be mindful is to be fully alive and present with the people around you, being aware of what's happening inside and around you in the present moment. From the mindfulness-based interventions for trauma domain, it can be defined as the capacity to maintain awareness of and openness to immediate experience, including internal mental states, thoughts, feelings, memories, and impinging elements of the external world, and doing so without judgment and with acceptance. There are a variety of spectrums or domains of mindfulness practices. Close to the source, we find the historical Buddha's foundations of meditation: body, feelings, mind, and objects of mind. From the past 30 plus years of empirical research, the trait versus state mindfulness polarity, and the body, heart, and mind trinity approach. The contemporary insight tradition teaches that there are 6 kinds of practice or ways to meditate: concentration, mindfulness, heartfulness, inquiry, awareness, and embodiment meditation. These were reverse engineered from the Buddhist meditative traditions and from secular, non-denominational mindfulness techniques. And on the Buddhist layer, these styles are heavily influenced by the Theravada, Zen, and Tibetan practice lineages. And the non-denominational mindfulness lane, they're influenced by Dr. Zin's work and the mindfulness-based practices that have sprung up around that work, and informed by the emerging neuroscience of meditation and by Buddhist psychology. As such, they represent some of the most time-tested and verifiably effective approaches that exist to train the mind. With these different styles, we are, as one of my teachers, Kenneth Folk, puts it, performing neurosurgery on ourselves. And in the West, in the past 5 years or so, social meditation has emerged as a way to meditate. And mixing and matching and integrating all of the above makes for a cornucopia of possible practices. And so here and now, we get to land in a shared learning space to engage in systematic training in establishing mindfulness and loving kindness in practice, compassion. And we begin most simply by taking a seat with mindful presence. As students and teachers, we work with this foundation of mindfulness and then gradually extend this also to other postures of standing or walking, embodying it as we work and play, eventually integrating the theories and practices into our day-to-day experience of both our shared and solitary realities. Mindfulness is an invitation to dignity and graciousness. It's not an onerous new obligation, something that you have to do, but an invitation to well-being, the possibility of presence just where you are. And it brings visible benefits in all different aspects of life, in our physical well-being, in our planning for a future, in lovemaking, in raising a child, and in just being, alone or together. One of my teachers, Jack Cornfield, talks about a psychotherapist friend who has a sign in his office that came from a casino in Las Vegas. And it says on it, "You must be present to win." Now that's true in Las Vegas, and it's pretty much the game everywhere else. This quality of presence that we can train to gain combines 2 aspects. The first is awareness, a clear seeing of what is present here and now. And the other is loving kindness, a loving presence, not judging or trying to manipulate or control, but a true loving care for life just as it is in this moment, from which a wise response can be born. You could call this mindfulness by other names. Presence, loving awareness is a term that's going around. It could be called the art of living, to be present for your life, not lost in the fantasies of the future and the reruns of the past, but actually to be fully where you are. It has a sensitivity, an immediacy, and an aliveness to it. It's often called present moment awareness. So by training this capacity of presence, you can calm and quiet the mind, open the heart, learn to see and work with the different energies of your life, and then be able to respond wisely. So how does this training start? Training in mindfulness meditation uses its own approach, not judging, not trying to change the way things are, but taking a seat in the mystery of your own human experience, halfway between heaven and earth, just where you are, and allowing yourself to see and honor what there is to be understood. And it begins by honoring your own body. There's a line from James Joyce where he wrote of one character, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. And we do that in our lives. When you become mindful, you can notice the state of your body without judgment, where there's tension, relaxation. Is the body exhausted or excited? Is there pain or pleasure, illness or health? You can also honor with the same non-judging or caring attention, the attention that seeks to see and clearly understand the circumstances of your life, just as you notice the states of your body as you're sitting here. You can also notice what you're in the midst of, sometimes difficult and sometimes easy. One of my teachers, Emily Horn, is referred to by Wired magazine as a power player of the mindfulness movement, says that mindfulness is the practice of noticing what you are sensing in real time. As we practice mindfulness, we eventually spend less time caught up in unnecessary suffering. There's less stress and greater clarity. It works by deconstructing our moment-to-moment experience, meaning as attention lands on an aspect of experience, there is a knowing and an interactive sensing of it. In this practice, we break down what we notice into different categories, such as breathing, body sensations, emotions, and thoughts, and then often note across infinite possible experiences in the moment. We learn to track what's happening moment to moment, so that we're no longer lost or distracted by the content of our experience. When we're not lost or distracted, there's a sense of connection and wholeness that enables us to choose how to respond rather than acting from automatic habits, conditioned responses. In other words, through mindfulness practice, we're unwinding habits that keep us stuck by identifying how aspects of experience, breathing, thoughts, emotions, body sensations, come into form and how they're interlinked. So as we deepen our capacity for mindfulness, we're also gradually gaining insight into how our hearts and minds work, thus allowing space for greater inner freedom to arise. When my friend Brigitte began to sit in meditation, all the thoughts and worries surrounding a third and perhaps last attempt at in vitro fertilization were filling her meditation. It was a meditation on becoming a parent. Or when Anna finds that precious 20 minutes to meditate in a day full of caring for 3 toddlers, finding childcare for her next shift at the brewery, while slowly healing from early childhood trauma. Those are the things that are present for her also. When my dear partner sits on her cushion at home with her aches and pains and worries about my health over our next 20 years, her suffering joins her on the meditation pad. So as you sit and quiet yourself, you will encounter what is present for you in your life just now. Sometimes you encounter the unfinished business of the heart. Well, maybe there's a grief that you've been too busy to let yourself feel, or the tears that are there, or the longing, or the creativity that's unexpressed, or the love that you haven't given voice to. All of these are the perfect place for you to learn the power of steadying attention and loving awareness. And as you learn this capacity, it will help you even in the hardest of times. And then in a moment, just with a mindful pause, just with an wherever you are, you can shift in that space of opening to well-being. You can shift your relationship to whatever's happening and say, ah, this too. So mindfulness is not about a spiritual bypass or creating some new ideal, but the presence with your body and heart and mind for what is in your life, for your measure of pain and pleasure, of praise and blame, of joy and sorrow, of gain and loss, for the beginnings and the endings that make up a life. And this capacity for presence is a gift to yourself, and it's a gift to all of those around you. So the recently departed Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said that when the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats met with storms or pirates, if everyone aboard panicked, all would be lost. But if even one person on the boat remained calm and centered, it was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. And so with your own steady presence, you become, guess who? That person on the boat that calms and steadies the way for yourself and for those around you. Let's take 5 minutes for self-care in addition to stand and stretch. Do a little walk, grab a fresh beverage, whatever. I'll ring the bell to bring us back into this space to practice. So starting off somewhat easy, let's set an intention to sit for about 10 minutes for the basic mindfulness practice with breath and body. So find a sitting position that allows you to be alert with spine erect but not stiff, and also relax, or any position that works for you. Kindly open your attention, starting exactly where you are. In the midst of it all, gently note your surroundings with your senses, closing your eyes or softening your gaze, establishing a simple sense of presence. Now allowing your awareness to scan through your body and, wherever possible, softening and releasing obvious areas of physical tension. You might take a few very full cleansing breaths and then allow your breath to be natural. Notice how the breath breathes itself. Bringing your attention to where you most easily detect the breath, or perhaps where it's most pleasurable. Letting this place of experiencing the breath be your home base, an anchor to the present moment. Noticing this breath right here. And if you like, you can softly note in the background calm or ease with each breath. Now, if the breath is not a good home base for you, you might instead anchor your attention in the sensations in your hands or the sensations of your whole body sitting here. Now, with a relaxed, interested attention, discovering what the sensations of the breath or your chosen anchor feel like, moment to moment. Where is your attention now? Each time that you notice your mind has wandered off is a moment of mindfulness, gently bringing your attention back to the inflow and outflow of the breath or your chosen anchor, offering a relaxed, wakeful presence. Now, scanning your body and noticing if any particular sensations are strong and calling your attention. If so, allowing the breath or your home base to recede to the background and bringing an interested, kind presence to the sensations. What do they feel like? You might be aware of heat or chills, tingling, aching, twisting, stabbing, vibrating. With a soft, open awareness, feeling the sensations as they are and noticing are they pleasant or unpleasant? As you begin to attend to them, do they become more intense or dissipate? Notice how they change. When the sensations are no longer a strong experience, returning to mindfulness of breathing or your chosen anchor. This is the practice. Returning is the key. Return to the breath or chosen anchor 1,000 times. It's like training a puppy. If you find it difficult to stay with strong sensations, you might breathe with them, letting the breath help you find some balance and openness in the midst. It can also be helpful to name the sensations, seeing if there's a word or two to note what describes your experience. The tightness, ache, heat, pressure. No need to strain or run through a mental thesaurus to find just the right word. Notice what word arises in awareness. Mentally repeat it to yourself in a soft tone, letting the naming, the noting, be soft in the background. 5% of your attention with 95% on the actual experience. And you might ask yourself, what's happening inside me right now? Noticing any sensations that are predominant, and then ask, can I be with this? Directly feeling the flow of sensation, subtle or strong, letting life be just as it is. Now, returning to your home base, the breath or anchor of particular sensations, offering a calm, steady attention. If during this last minute or so strong sensations call your attention, letting your primary anchor recede and bringing a full attention again to what's arising, naming what you notice, offering your presence. If nothing strong is calling your attention, continuing to rest with your home base, relaxed and alert. Sensing the breath in the foreground, still aware of the field of sensations in the background. You're learning to be centered, balanced, and present for the breath and the living world of sensation. Wisely aware of this changing life. So, as we do for our course meetings, as we'll continue to do, let's take the last minutes we have for any questions or comments you might have for me or for the community. So feel free to raise your Zoom hand, your real hand, or just open your microphone and speak. Michael?
Good evening, Michael. One of the issues that I always deal with is the back pain that
Mm,
and
mm,
so just any kind of suggestions about how to move beyond that.
mhm,
Because that's it's just
mhm,
an obstacle to me.
mhm. Yes, I understand. Pain can be a terrible obstacle. I would try lying down first. Yeah, there's no rule that you have to be sitting up. Um, and you may find that there's an intermediate position, a more semi-supported position that will allow you to be sort of erect and feel that your head's up and your feet are down. But yeah, be comfortable.
It,
Find a way to be comfortable.
I did about 2 years ago. I did purchase
Ah,
a Seiza bench, and that helps a great deal.
uh-huh.
'Cause it helps just keep my posture. But 5 minutes into it, my arthritis makes an appearance, and
Mm. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I would just find the best way to be comfortable for 20 minutes or so. And if it means that you have to move around a little bit, that's life, you know? Yeah, my thoughts. Anybody else have any ideas around that? Jim?
Yeah, echoing on that, you know, sitting cross-legged, there's multiple different positions like lotus, half lotus, etc. But a lot of meditation is in chairs.
Hmm.
Um, I have EDS and I've got really bad back issues, as you well know, as well. Um, I'll echo Michael and say, if that's absolutely coming into it, lay down completely.
Hmm.
There's that. Um, I follow. There's a lot of hypermobility coaches that I'll follow, like on TikTok or Instagram, and they'll talk about setting up support uh, underneath your hip and in your back.
Hmm.
So when I get into meat, my bones slip out of joint. So my muscles are the only thing keeping in, which means everything's tense and hurting. And so when I can support everything, kind of get up where I can just let go and be there, that's ideal. But I echo that adapt your surroundings to your needs in this sense. There's no need to muscle it and force through pain.
Yeah. You're probably well aware that there's a great market for yoga blocks and pads and things that are just designed for that to create postures that are not straining the body, that support you when you need it. Mm. Thank you, Jim. Jane.
Is
Hi,
there a
Jane.
reason? Hi, Michael. I miss you.
You
Michael and
too.
I have been friends for a very long time. Um, I lost it. Is there a reason why sitting is important? Is it just it always has been that way, or there's some physical reason that if you're sitting and meditating, it's easier to relax? Or is it
I
just it's
Yeah, I think it goes back to the time um, when when meditation happened for long periods of time, and sitting up was probably the best way to not fall asleep, to be somewhat alert. But at the same time, it seems that it might be an optimal space between torpor and excitement. And I think we need to find that when we meditate, some space that makes us feel equanimous, so that we're not excited, but we're not feeling drowsy or down. And that's a hard middle path to find. Yeah. But some sects require certain postures at a more rigorous level. I mean, our Zen friends are famous for requiring perfect sitting and for a lot of reasons. You know, discipline, alertness. Mm, good question, Jim.
So I'm glad to really take this class and start formalizing my training on this. And I've taken I read some books and taking some apps, but I'd really like to go back to kind of original sutras. And you mentioned the discourses on the arising of mindfulness from Siddhartha Buddha. What was the name of that sutra again?
It's the Satipatthana Sutra. There are a lot of translations. It's Yeah. Why don't I send you a good translation from a contemporary translator
That'd be
that
wonderful.
keeps. All right. Why don't I send it to you all, along with my first hello via email? Okay, good.
Thank
Yeah. Any other questions or comments or thoughts about your experience? Jane, were you ready to chime in?
I have another thing. I really have not gotten into meditation. I understand it's good and, and I've tried it a few times, but I always, you get to that point and say, now find that spot. And it's like, how? How do I find that spot? How do I keep that spot with that? I understand, I have to clear my mind of everything else around, and that takes practice, obviously. But I always end up saying to myself, how do I do that now? And is it mostly just discipline and concentration and relaxation into a moment without, and trying to quiet all those behind the scenes thoughts going on?
You got a couple questions there. And first, we'll talk later when we talk about thoughts, because thoughts, our thoughts and our emotions are our biggest distractors. And you're talking about distraction. Our body can distract us, anything can distract us, but we can get to a place or a space where all that becomes background noise. And it's a waterfall. If we sit for a while and look inside and just see what's there right now, there's an emotional waterfall. There's a waterfall of thoughts. I mean, our brain creates thoughts like our body secretes enzymes and hormones. It's just what it does. And when they're not focused anywhere, it's nonsense. Our thoughts they're not what we are. It's just what our mind thinks it needs to be doing. What I like to do is practice letting go. Instead of trying to control life, because that's our thing. We're in the control tower, especially when we're beginning or revisiting meditation. We want it to be just so. And you know what they say about suffering. Suffering is a dissatisfaction that's based in the reality that from one moment to the next, life is not going to be exactly like we want it to be. And when we feel like we get there, the next moment it's changed, and it's like it's a moving target. And so let go of all this control. What we're really doing is leaning into our present moment experience. And gradually, with practice, using the breath or your chosen anchor, you'll be able to have the breath. I use the breath, and to have the breath as a landing base, a place to come back to, a place in my heart. When I'm distracted, I name the distraction, and that helps me that helps me understand how my mind is working. Name the distraction. Very often, when you name something, the distraction disappears because you've thrown it a bone, and then go back to the breath. Like I said, it's like training a puppy. You got to do it 1,000 times, but I would discourage all of us from trying to control our experience, and to be patient and use a lot of self-compassion, and just know that we're not in control. Our experience can evolve. Mindfulness is a special kind of awareness. The practice itself is practice. The practice itself is not meant to bring us to a place where there's a flickering candle and we hear chanting in the background. The practice is working with our sense of self and working with that which informs us, our body, the feelings of our environment. It's all just right here. thoughts is what gets us going, though, because we can grab a thought, we can add to that thought. All of a sudden, we have a story. All of a sudden, we're down a rabbit hole. And 5 minutes later, we shake our head and we have no idea where we were. But it's that noticing that you've distracted, noticing that something has taken your mind away, noticing what that might be. That's the moment of mindfulness, when you become aware. And the more moments you have like that, the more you actually control what you're being conscious of. And then the mind can do its own thing. I know that sounds simplistic, and I'm sorry to make it sound that way, but practice. Yeah. Michael?
Yeah, just one thing that I have finally learned over the past couple of years, mostly trying to do this on my own, is that it's not emptying my mind of thought. It's just noticing those thoughts and then moving on. It's just astounding, the swarm of things that just happen.
Mhm.
But like you just said, it's not something in my control. It is just
Mhm.
happening. You know, what's in my control is the attention that I have to note those things, and then go back to my breath.
Mhm. And we'll talk more about noting. Noting is a wonderful word, and noting is probably what I consider the prime mindfulness tool, when especially when we're getting into our zone. And noting is naming, and once you name something, it's lost its charm. It's calling your attention. It's like, hey, it's me, name me, and you can say, oh, pain in the ass. And it's like, poof, it's gone. And then, something else is coming up, like flatulence. Oops, flatulence. And then poof, it's gone. It's like clouds in the sky. The clouds obscure the sky. The sky is always there, but the clouds, they're just moving by, and we can just we can say, oh, that's Mickey Mouse, and then Mickey Mouse is gone. It's dispersed. So most of what happens in our minds dissolves when we attend to it. And noting and naming is a wonderful tool. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your experience.
Michael, before we go, I'd just really like to thank you for your willingness to work with us all and bring this opportunity to Koji. So thank you.
As you know, Andrea and Jane and others, I mean, I have a very special place in my mind and heart for Ekoji. It's been 20 years of being connected in a variety of different ways, and there's just a deep love and affection and gratitude. So I'm honored. I'm really honored to spend these time with you. I do need to mention Election Day, right? So March 5th, I think it is. It's the Tuesday, is Election Day, and I'm an elections officer. So that's a day that we will skip, and we'll just skip that, and we'll just continue until we get to session 6, and then, as you might have seen, there's an optional session 7, which is a dip into social meditation, which is sort of like noting on steroids. It's actual noting out loud together. And then we'll dip into the RAIN practice, a special practice that's evolved over the past 20 years that Tara Brach likes to raise up, a way to deal with stuck places and obstacles that we encounter, especially emotional. So that will be an optional 7th class. So it won't be anything that you need to take on. It will just sort of be a bonus that you can take away. Any last comments or questions? But it's really a joy to hang out with you folks. It's nice for me. I look forward to spending these weeks with you, and we really are teachers and learners in this space. And I know we'll have some nice conversations, and believe me, it will get better. It will get easier if that's what we want. It will get more more comprehensible, and as we move from the body up the scale, just like the Buddha taught, we'll be able to adjust our attention, and our attention is like a muscle. So it needs to be worked out, and we'll do that. So many contemplative traditions with practices, rituals, focused learning, and dialogue close their meeting with a dedication practice, and that's about not keeping what's good just for ourselves and for our immediate circle of loved ones. It's a radical act of generosity. There are limitless forms of dedication, and I think it's a great habit. And this is one dedication that resonates really well with me, and I'll probably use this for each of our sessions. So if you want to put your hands together in Gasho or Namaste or whatever, if it makes you feel like you can breathe. And let's dedicate all the value accrued through prayer, contemplation, meditation, and practice for the benefit of all beings and to the incomparable expanse of totality. Good night, friends.